Okay, so this is going to be the work in progress video for the 1/75th scale Rick Dom 2 soft vinyl kit, and I'm going to try to change up the way I do things a bit. I'm going to try to divide my work in progress videos into more segments rather than, doing one video a month like I have been lately. I'm going to try to divide these up and do more work in progress videos per kit. Shorter videos, so that way you guys get to see my videos more often. I get to upload more than just this once a month nonsense. Anyway, so just starting out on this thing. This is a soft vinyl kit, and I've done a little bit of research. This is my first time doing a vinyl kit like this, and the main points that people have said is that it needs to be heated in order to be cut. Like, you can cut, like, this excess is going to have to be cut away from the waste, obviously. You can cut that away when it's room temperature, but it's a whole lot easier, and since you're using a really sharp knife, it's a whole lot safer to heat this up with either a hairdryer or boiling water. I'm going to use the boiling water method, and cut it when the vinyl is soft. So that'll be the first order of business, to cut away all the excess vinyl on these parts. So secondly, on a vinyl kit like this, most vinyl kits are fixed pose. This one actually has a little bit of articulation to it. The vinyl is going to have to be heated up in order to put the kit together, and once I realized that there is going to be a little bit of a potential issue. Either I'm going to have to put the entire kit together and then paint it, or I'm going to have to paint it and then put the kit together. Now, it's going to be a whole lot easier to paint the kit first, then put it together, obviously. But that creates an issue. If this is painted, if this has got a layer of primer and Mr. Color and top coat on it, how is that paint going to react if I heat this up and get the vinyl soft and it starts getting flexible, and I have to bend this vinyl in order to fit the parts together? Is the paint going to chip? Is the paint going to crack? Is the paint going to flake off? That's a serious issue that needs to be addressed. So I have opted to do a little experiment. I've already cut away a little piece of vinyl like so, and I'm just going to paint this up real quick and heat it up and see if the paint comes off when the vinyl is flexed and bent. Alright, got my pot of boiling water, got my part here. I just went over that with a layer of Mr. Surfacer and then just a random blue lacquer paint that I had laying around. And I'm going to submerge that for a few seconds. It doesn't take very long for it to soften up. Okay, and taking it out of the boiling water, squish it around. See, as you can see, the vinyl is now very soft and flexible, and the paint is not chipping, it's not flaking off, it's not cracking, so that's really, really, really good news. This means it'll be quite easy to paint the kit first and then heat the parts up and assemble them afterwards. What I'll probably do is I'll do that and then do the weathering after the kit is assembled, because I can't imagine boiling water is going to be very good for pigments and oil washes and all that stuff. So I'll just do the weathering after the kit's assembled. That shouldn't be too bad. And it's been out of the boiling water about 30 seconds. It's starting to firm up, so looks like I'll have about 30 seconds of working time with these parts heated up. So now that that experiment is out of the way, all I got to do is start cleaning up this excess vinyl. Alright, so I just spent about 30 minutes or so trimming away all of this excess vinyl from the parts, and now they are ready for the finer cleanup. Now let's see, there's a really good example over here somewhere. I did notice that there's a few bubbles in places like, here we go, on the forearm piece right here. As you can see, there's a nice little bubble right there in the vinyl. Those are pretty uncommon. I only saw a couple of those. More common than that are just like teeny tiny little micro bubbles, the kind of bubbles that will just have to be filled in with like liquid putty and then sanded over. So that's going to be the next step. Actually, the next step is going to be washing all of these. Kind of like resin kits, I have read that it's a good idea to wash these with a detergent of some sort to get the mold release off. So I'm going to give these a nice bath with some dish soap, and then I'm probably just going to prime everything, and that way that'll let me see all of these smaller imperfections better. And I'll just go in with my trusty Tamiya putty and some liquid putty and go in and fill in all those teeny tiny little bubbles. Some of the bigger ones, like on the forearm there, I'll probably have to use a little bit of epoxy putty for that, but that should be no problem. Alright, so I've got the parts washed and dried, and now I'm going back and just doing a little bit of fine tuning with the cleanup of the excess vinyl, because I just sort of did a rough pass because I was dealing with boiling water earlier and I didn't want to spend too awfully much time messing around with these. My kitchen windows were starting to steam up, so just going back and fixing some of the rough edges that were left behind on this. And I imagine that I'll have to put a little bit of Tamiya putty on some of these edges where I'm cutting away the vinyl anyway, so this more than likely won't be the last time I end up having to clean up these edges, but that's okay. It looks like this is going to be about the same amount of cleanup work as a resin kit. The cleanup is just in different places than you would have to clean up on a resin kit. Alright, so I've got a layer of primer on everything at this point, and now I'm just filling in some of the bubbles and gaps. The only parts that really had noticeable gaps were the shoulder armor. There was a big hollow area right there on the edge where you had to cut the excess vinyl away. So I just use some epoxy putty to fill that hole in, and when that cures I'll sand that down. And a few of the larger bubbles, like on the underside of the lower leg there were some noticeable bubbles on the edge, and I just used epoxy putty because it would have taken several rounds of this Tamiya putty to fill those in. But for the Tamiya putty, I am going to use it for filling in smaller imperfections. Mostly like around where I had to clean up the vinyl. Just there's sort of a rough edge there, so I'm just gonna apply some Tamiya putty on these places. Fill in those little nooks and crannies. So far, cleanup wise, this feels like about the same amount of work as a resin kit, but just the cleanup process is different since it's a different material. Because this vinyl is definitely softer than resin or plastic. It doesn't sand well. Actually, I haven't even tried yet because I know it doesn't sand well. I've tried sanding action figures that were like made out of PVC. It doesn't go well. If you ever tried sanding a like a beam effect part on a Gundam kit or a poly cap, it's gonna be about the same as that. So I think all the sanding I'm gonna be doing on this kit is just gonna be limited to the putty, because this vinyl is not gonna sand. That's just too soft. But I guess you don't have to do like any pinning or anything like you do on a resin kit. But I don't know, it's just different. But it's good to do things that are different from time to time instead of just doing the same old, day in, day out. Of course, some people like doing the same old day in, day out, and there's nothing wrong with that. You just have to get whatever you put into the hobby. If you enjoy snapping your kits together and putting them on the shelf with nothing more than that, that's okay. I have nothing against snap builders. The hobby is whatever you want it to be, whatever you want to make it. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and cut the first work in progress video here, because this putty is going to take like 24 hours to cure, and then I'll come back and start sanding on all this stuff and go over it with another layer of primer, and at that point hopefully we'll be ready for paint. So with that, I'll see you guys next time.